This is rental car number 75, and today, well, I'm pretty excited because I'm driving the 2018 Chevy Silverado 1500. This is the LT trim level. It's also got four-wheel drive, and it's a double cab version, which is the smaller of the two options for the extended cab Silverado. I was excited to drive this one because I have driven the Ford F-150, the Nissan Frontier, and the Ram 1500, but never a Chevy Silverado. So I'm super happy that I finally got to check this one off my list. I'm also a tech guy, so I was really happy that the Silverado comes standard with Android Auto and Apple CarPlay connectivity. So I was glad I got a chance to finally play around with Android Auto. Alright, but enough about me. It's getting late, the sun is setting, so let's pop the hood and take a look at what's underneath. So the LT trim model comes with a standard 4.3 liter V6 engine. That's going to get you 285 horsepower with a 6-speed automatic. You can upgrade to a V8, but it's going to cost you about $1,200 extra if you want to do that. So with the V6, you're going to get some good gas mileage, especially for a truck this size. You're going to get 17 miles per gallon in the city, 22 on the highway with a 26-gallon fuel tank. So quick confession, I'm not a truck guy. I've never owned one of these. I love it when I get a chance to rent these, but I do most of my driving on the highway. So I don't haul a lot of stuff. I certainly don't tow anything, and most of my miles are either suburban or interstate. So for me, the V6 was fine. I was able to keep up with traffic, and I didn't feel like I was driving something massive that needed a lot of time to build up speed. But if you're a truck guy and you really need something with some power, I think you should consider dropping down that extra $1,200 to get the V8. I think it's going to be worth it in this case. Overall though, man, I love this one. It drives smooth, accelerates pretty smoothly onto the highway, and well, I was a little bit disappointed to give it back after my 2 days. Alright, but I know I'm rambling. What I'm trying to say is I liked driving this one. I think you will too. But let's move on. Let's jump inside and see what the interior of the Silverado has to offer. So first off, here's the key, and it is an actual key, no push button start on the Silverado. And you do get a key fob with remote lock capability and a panic button. It's right there. So to start up the vehicle, you do have to take that standard old-fashioned key, which I'm starting to love lately, and turn it on. So let's see what that looks like. Alright, here's the steering wheel for the Silverado. A couple buttons on the left-hand side to navigate through the cruise controls. On the right-hand side, you get buttons to interact with the center display and the gauge cluster. You also get two buttons on the back. These are your volume rockers. Kind of nice to have those. And then shifting upward, you get a nice gauge cluster with some nice big gauges for miles per hour and RPMs, and then 4 gauges on top for all kinds of information about the vehicle. Now that center display right there in the middle of the gauge cluster, it has color. It's nice. It does show you a range of information about the vehicle, but it's definitely not the best one out there. So if screens are your thing, I don't know if you're going to love the Silverado. And since we're up here in the gauge cluster, I should mention that the gear shift is also located right here next to the steering wheel. And then to the left of the steering wheel, you get all your standard buttons, window controls, door locks, mirror controls. They're all down here. Up on the dash, you get a couple of dials to control the headlights, and then also shift the car from 2 to 4-wheel drive. Then shifting your gaze towards the floor, the Silverado does come with a standard push pedal parking brake. Alright, then shifting your gaze up into the center of the interior of the vehicle, here's where you have your sunglass holder, 2 small lights to illuminate the interior of the vehicle, controls to set whether the lights are going to turn on and off when you open the doors, and then your rear view mirror that also has OnStar and a panic button right there for you. And then below there you have an 8-inch color touchscreen. I gotta be honest, it feels a little bit dated for me, but thankfully, as I mentioned before, you get Android Auto and Apple CarPlay built into this. Alright, so what does that mean? That means if you download the right app onto your cell phone and then connect your car to your phone via USB cable, you're going to get some additional functionality displayed right on that center display. So I'm using Android Auto right now. That means that the controls shift over, and now I have access to a lot of the apps and other features on my phone. So I can use, for example, Google Maps or Waze to bring up navigation on the screen, or I can cycle through all the audiobooks I have on my Audible app that's on my phone. This is great because you're not tied to your car's system. So for example, Apple and Google are constantly updating their software. So you will see those updates on your screen on the car because you're actually using your phone's computer as opposed to the onboard computer on the Silverado, which, at least in my experience, almost never gets updated. All right, so that's the 8-inch colored touchscreen. A little below there, you get your climate controls, which I think worked pretty well. I usually get a little critical of these, but I found that the Silverado was able to warm up, because it's pretty cold out there right now, fairly quickly, and everything was really intuitive. I just like to see maybe a digital readout right here so I know what temperature I'm setting the vehicle. So behind there you get an armrest that folds up to reveal a seat, and there's some decent functionality here. There's a lot of little compartments, what I love, places to keep your cell phone, 2 USB ports to connect things in. All in all, this is a great little storage area that I took advantage of quite a bit. And then over on the passenger seat, you actually get 2 glove boxes. The one on top is fairly small, but there's a USB port in there, and I don't know, enough room to keep your owner's manual and registration. And then below there, you get your standard glove box. This one is also a little bit small, but there's plenty of room in there, especially since you have 2. All right, let's talk side mirrors. These are actually pretty good. They're oversized, so they're bigger than you're going to see on a standard sedan. And they have that little cutout in the upper left-hand corner. That gives you a little bit more visibility when you're driving, so you can see exactly who's on your side, which is good because this is a larger vehicle and you need that extra visibility. One small complaint, fortunately that additional cutout, that extra mirror that's built in, that is not available on the passenger side mirror. All right, so let's quickly jump into the back seat. First off, as I mentioned before, this is the double cab model. That means it's the smaller of the 2 extended cabs available on the Silverado, and there's not a lot of space back here. I'm 6 feet tall. I was able to cram in there, but it wasn't comfortable. So if it's within your budget to get the crew cab, I would definitely do it. All right, so let's close things out by taking a look at the bed on this truck. Remember, size does matter here. We got a double cab with a standard box. That means that the bed's length is 78.87 inches long. I'm kind of shocked to read that most people like a shorter bed, so they're looking for actually a less amount of cargo room back here. But I think this is a good standard size. This is what I would get. I don't think I'd want the short box model. That gets you a box length of about 69 inches, which just, I don't know, if you're going to do construction, you're going to haul around something serious, you're going to want some more room. And that's what this one has. All right, so that's this non-truck guy's take on the 2018 Chevy Silverado 1500 LT double cab with a standard box. After 2 days, I think I drove about 170 miles on this one. After all that time, I'm going to give this one 4 stars. I'm a fan of the Silverado, and I would gladly drive it again, but I would love to see Chevy add a couple of more things. Maybe update that touchscreen, maybe include some more power ports throughout the vehicle, but beyond that, couldn't be happier. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you join me next time when I rent my 76th rental car. That'll be the 2018 Toyota Camry. I'll see you then.
Thank you for watching.